Hello friends. The top 10 nations in 2024 where Americans are not welcome will be revealed in this video. We're going off the usual path today to investigate 11 nations that are inaccessible to Americans, or that they find difficult to relocate to. Discover loves to celebrate travel's freedom and convenience, but sometimes the world's politics have other ideas. This trip is all about those locations that are known to be difficult for holders of US passports to reach, so fasten your seatbelts. Before we start this video on the 10 countries where Americans are not welcome in 2024, please be sure to press the bell icon and hit the subscribe button. Now, let us examine each of the top 10 countries in more detail. Number 10 is Venezuela. Unfortunately, Venezuela, a country in South America known for its breathtaking natural beauty, has been suffering from a political and economic crisis for a number of years. The U.S. Department of State, grappling with political instability and economic collapse, warns against traveling to Venezuela at all because of crime, civil unrest, inadequate medical facilities, kidnapping, and the arbitrary arrest and imprisonment of American citizens. You will require a visa if you are an American citizen in order to enter Venezuela, but getting one can be difficult because there are no Venezuelan embassies or consulates in the United States as a result of the two nations' 2019 diplomatic relations breaking down. Applications for visas must be submitted through a Venezuelan embassy in a third nation and call for the following documents: a valid passport, filled out application form, passport-sized pictures, evidence of travel itinerary, proof of lodging, and the necessary payment. Venezuela is a risky place for tourists to visit despite having attractions like the world's highest waterfall, Angel Falls, and the Los Roques Archipelago, a national park renowned for its immaculate beaches and coral reefs. Number 9 is Libya. Similar to Syria, Libya is off-limits to American travelers due to ongoing conflict. Due to criminal activity, terrorism, kidnapping, and armed conflict, the U.S. Department of State strongly advises against traveling to Libya. Libya-US relations have been severely strained since the 2011 Libyan civil war and the assassination of the American ambassador during the Benghazi incident. Getting a tourist visa for Libya as an American citizen can be difficult because the country's political unrest prevents the issuance of these graze visas at the moment. But as of 2024, a business visa is still valid for travel to Libya. A valid passport, filled out application forms, application fee, passport-sized pictures, and an official letter of invitation from a Libyan-based company are normally required for the filing of a business visa application. It is highly recommended that you register your trip itinerary through the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, STEP, with the U.S. Embassy if you decide to visit Libya in spite of the risks. Number 8 is Syria. Ravaged by war, the U.S. Department of State considers Syria to be a high-risk country because of terrorism, civil upheaval, kidnapping, and armed conflict. Syria-US relations have been significantly strained since the start of the Syrian civil war in 2011. While it is still theoretically feasible to obtain a visa through a drawn-out process, it is highly discouraged given the dramatic decline in tourism caused by the war. It is difficult and time-consuming for Americans to obtain a visa for Syria. Applications must be submitted through the Syrian embassy in your home country. The Syrian embassy in Washington, D.C. ceased operations in 2014, so you will need to apply through an embassy of Syria in a third nation. It's important to be aware that any journey to Syria may have major ramifications for future travel. For example, a Syrian stamp on your passport may prevent you from entering other nations. Though Syria contains many historical and cultural monuments, it's important to remember that the ongoing conflict has caused significant damage and destruction, which has led to a humanitarian crisis. For safety reasons, it is therefore strongly advised against traveling to Syria at this time. The 7th is Turkmenistan. Next on our list is Turkmenistan, a country in Central Asia famous for the flaming door to hell crater and its eccentric former president. This country, with its wide deserts, historic sites, and remarkable modern architecture, is definitely one of the hardest for Americans to travel to because of its stringent visa requirements and the overall fatigue of the government with regard to foreign tourists. The main points of contention in U.S.-Turkmenistan diplomatic relations are problems related to democracy and human rights. Its current dictatorial government and its Soviet history are to blame for its onerous visa requirements. Turkmenistan requires you to apply through an embassy or consulate in the United States, namely the Embassy of Turkmenistan in Washington, D.C., in contrast to many other nations that allow an online application process. Obtaining a letter of invitation turns out to be one of the trickiest aspects of the visa application procedure. A Turkmen travel agency is required to organize your trip. They will then submit an application for the letter of invitation on your behalf. Approval is not guaranteed, and the procedure may take several weeks. Be ready for the possibility that your application will be rejected by the embassy without explanation. In Turkmenistan, most visitors are obliged to reserve a guided tour for the entirety of their stay. Independent travel is essentially non-existent. The only exception is a transit visa, which enables you to enter the nation for a maximum of 5 days but is frequently denied and needs a thorough itinerary. You will need to register with the State Migration Service within 3 days of your arrival in Turkmenistan, usually taken care of by your tour operator. Not registering might lead to fines and issues while attempting to exit the nation. For the daring traveler, Turkmenistan nevertheless has some distinctive attractions despite these difficulties. Number 6 is Saudi Arabia. Due to its stringent visa regulations, Saudi Arabia used to be a difficult destination for American travelers to visit. The nation, which is governed by rigorous Islamic law, has historically only granted visas to citizens' families, business travelers, and Hajj pilgrims. 2019 saw the introduction of a new tourist visa by Saudi Arabia, nevertheless, as part of its Vision 2030 initiative, which aims to diversify the country's economy away from oil. Saudi Arabia now permits Americans to apply online for a tourist visa, which is a significant departure from its previous tight restrictions. The visa application procedure is comparatively simple, and quick candidates must complete an online form, send in a passport-sized photo, and pay a fee. The 1-year visa allows for multiple entries, with a maximum stay of 90 days each entry. Even yet, there are still limitations for female tourists. While women over 25 are free to go to Saudi Arabia alone, those under 25 must be accompanied by a family member. Women are still encouraged to dress modestly, notwithstanding the government's relaxation of the previously rigorous dress code. 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites are located in Saudi Arabia. These include the rock art of the Hale region and the medieval city of Diriyah. While exploring, keep in mind that some locations might not be accessible to non-Muslims, and always abide by the customs of the locals about decency. Number 5 is Eritrea. Due to its dictatorial government and isolationist policies, Eritrea is sometimes referred to as the North Korea of Africa and is located on the Horn of Africa. Relationship tensions between the United States and Eritrea stem from a number of concerns, including Eritrea's human rights record and the imprisonment of local employees of the U.S. Embassy. Eritrea's tourist visa application process is infamously tough, and approval is frequently subjective. Even with the requisite documentation, there's no guarantee of clearance. It's also important to keep in mind that processing can take a long time, often many months. Your ability to travel around Eritrea is restricted even with a visa in order to leave the country's capital. Asmara, foreign visitors must apply for a travel permission from the Eritrean government, which can be a drawn-out and uncertain process. Restricted licenses are frequently exclusively issued for specific tourist destinations. Leaving restricted regions may incur fines or other consequences. Even while getting to Eritrea is undoubtedly difficult, people who have been there frequently talk about its distinct charm, which includes the breathtaking scenery of the Dahlak archipelago and the Asmara's Art Deco architecture. Number 4 is Cuba. Travel restrictions remain as a holdover from the Cold War, notwithstanding a small improvement in U.S.-Cuban ties over time. El bloqueo, the local term for the U.S. embargo against Cuba, prohibits American visitors from traveling there just for pleasure. Nonetheless, there are still 12 approved categories under which U.S. citizens are permitted to travel, including family visits, journalistic endeavors, professional study, religious pursuits, public events or contests, and the most popular, support for the Cuban people. Travelers falling into this final category must commit to a full-time program of events that uplift and advance Cuban civil society and its citizens. staying in a casa, a special private residence, dining at paladares private restaurants, buying at private markets, and conversing with locals about their way of life are some examples of activities. You must obtain a Cuban tourist card or visa after determining your category of travel. When they purchase a ticket to Cuba, most passengers can obtain the tourist card directly from their airline. For travelers arriving directly from the United States, the card is pink. For travelers arriving from other nations, it is green. While some airlines charge an additional fee, others include the cost of the card in the ticket price. Bhutan is ranked third. Moving on, the peaceful Himalayan nation of Bhutan has a unique tourism strategy that protects their nature and culture, which is the reason why visiting here might be challenging rather than politically motivated. Bhutan only allows a few number of visitors annually, and American visitors must pay a daily fee ranging from $200 to $250. This policy, dubbed high value, low impact, is an inventive attempt to support environmentally friendly travel. This charge might appear steep at first look, but it's vital to understand what's included. The cost includes lodging in 3-star hotels, all meals, transportation inside Bhutan, a licensed tour guide, camping gear for hikers, and a sustainable tourism royalty that funds free healthcare, education, and infrastructure development in Bhutan. In essence, it's a comprehensive package that directly advances national well-being. Number 2 is Iran. The next destination is Iran, a nation full of ancient landmarks and kind people, but with many diplomatic obstacles for Americans. Relationship tensions between the two countries increased after the Iranian Revolution of 1979, when the United States placed severe sanctions on Iran due to nuclear disagreements. Iran travel is feasible, but you'll have to arrange for a guided trip and go through a drawn-out visa application process. Examining the complexities of visiting Iran as an American, the voyage starts before you ever arrive. There is no simple route to take to get there. Americans are not permitted to travel independently in Iran. All travel must be a part of a scheduled trip, guided by a government-approved guide. A thorough itinerary outlining your time in Iran will be supplied by your tour operator. Not only is this itinerary necessary for your visa application, but it also needs to be adhered to rigidly, leaving little time for impromptu exploration. From broad cultural experiences to more specialized pursuits like adventure or culinary excursions, guided tours can cover a wide range of topics. Number 1 is North Korea. North Korea, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea (DPRK as it is officially known), is at the top of the list. Before 2017, a select group of adventurous people could travel to North Korea on guided tours from China, by direct train from the border city of Dandong across the Yalu River, or by direct flights from Beijing. Travel restrictions were largely caused by North Korea's isolationist posture, which was the outcome of a political theory known as Juche, and persistent tensions with the United States. The tragic and illustrative story of Otto Warmbier, a young American who personally suffered from the harsh repercussions of this country's inflexible political system, served as the impetus for the current visa restriction. Well, that's all we got for you today. I appreciate you seeing. Please click the subscribe button if you like this video's content so you can see more like it. In the comments section below, share your opinions on the top 10 nations in 2024 where Americans are not welcome. I know others would enjoy reading these just as much as I would.